Okay, welcome to the Board of Water Commissioners, Thursday, August 25th, 2022. I'd like to make a motion to open the meeting at 10:31 a.m.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, there's 3 ayes. All right. All right, so the first item on the agenda is going to be 124 Elm Street condos. Tom, thank you for joining us today. If you can kind of give us a quick, small background and the development, and we'll kind of throw in our input. We do have Jonathan and Brennan Stone here from the distribution side.
Okay, I'm the plumbing engineer for Wozni Barber and Associates, hired by Nelson Architects. At the Elm Street site, we're going to have 3 condo buildings, 124 North, 124 South, and 87 Elm. So the purpose of me being here, I was asked to come in and just explain how we on metering the domestic water. So Brenda, you had offered to do a screen share.
Yes, I did.
You said there was six condos altogether?
3 buildings.
3 buildings, 3 condos each?
I think the total is 17. I could be off on that.
Okay, I just want to write the number down, that's all. Plus and minus.
I think there were 9 in one of the buildings, the larger building on the original motel site.
Yeah, right. So that's the 124 North is the large. It may be more. It may be in the low 20s.
Okay. All right.
So
And I'm gonna share. Hopefully this is gonna work.
We have faith in you, Brenda.
Okay, so this is this one.
the other sheet would be the better of the 2.
Say that again?
The other sheet would be the better of the 2.
Okay,
The overall floor plan of the garage level of 124. All right, so this is the water service room for 124 North. And what we're proposing to do as you enter the building, have 1 master meter at, if you look on the legend on the right-hand side of the screen, it basically breaks down everything. But the master meter will, every flow of water from the other sub meters. So the sub meters being each individual owner will have a water meter within their condo unit. There'll also be a house meter that will do exterior wall hydrants and the future pool for this building. Also, there'll be a retail component to this building, which will have a separate meter. So basically what it is, all the sub meters have to add up to the master meter. So I guess my question is this okay for you? Some municipalities want us to take the irrigation meter, which is another sub meter, off prior to the master meter. But presently I'm showing a master meter, and then downstream we have a retail, an irrigation, house meter, and then the individual condo unit meters. So
Okay, I have a question. The individual condo unit meters, they are going to be our meters, correct? They're not going to be a sub meter that you were going to whatever, because according to our regulations, every condominium has to have their own individual water department meter.
correct. I saw that in some correspondence about 2 weeks ago. Normally what we would do with the owner would subcontract through a third party to do that. So basically this meeting is here to iron out any of the issues you see. And I can just put that into our specifications and our documents that you will provide, or is it something that has to be purchased by the owners?
If, Brendan and Jonathan want to jump in anytime, feel free.
well, my question is,
the meter, the master meter?
the master
Is
meter.
it gonna be high flow, low flow,
Um,
4-inch?
The meter is sized on the total demand, design flow for the building, which is 100 GPM. So going to the Neptune literature, that comes out to a 2-inch meter, combine meter.
Yeah, a 2-inch meter can, what is it, 250 gallons a minute can handle?
I don't have the literature in front of me, but just plugging in the 100 GPM, it came out to be a 2-inch meter.
What if everything's going all at once? That's the question.
yeah,
You have everything.
that-
There's a
That's
meter-
the design flow. I mean, if it were to exceed the 100 GPM, the 2-inch meter, I can check on that, but I would never size a meter that was close to the limit anyways.
I'm just looking at billing wise right now.
Yes.
So a master meter, which we do, let me backtrack a little bit. These condos, they're gonna be sold, correct?
Correct.
So, I mean, they should all be individual accounts. That I would be charging the homeowners directly.
Yes.
So, what good's the master meter gonna do for me?
Yeah, what happened if the master meter's off when you add, we had this other houses. You
Yeah.
have, calculate all 17, they don't add up to that.
And a lot of times it's not gonna calculate, right? It's not gonna be accurate, is what I'm trying to say. If I was to add up every single solitary meter, and try to match up the usage, I mean, it would have to be done on the same day at the same time, all meters at once.
Right.
So is the master meter maybe just to make sure everything's catching, and I wouldn't. billing that usage?
Exactly. So the idea is to make sure that you have all the meters registering correctly. And if the master meter is not adding up to what the other sub meters are, that's the investigation to see which meter is off.
Okay, I got you. All right, so that makes you happy, Lee.
Okay, so then what you're going to be doing is billing on all the other meters.
Correct. This will just be a meter used to try to true up, say, quarterly, to make sure the other meters are accurate.
Yeah, so I see, because they have the other 1-inch and the what's a 3/4 inch? The retail meter.
5/8. It's a 5/8.
Oh, it does 3/4 right here. I'm looking at number 4.
Well, we call them 5/8 by 3/4 inch here.
Okay, yeah. So they're going to be all separate accounts.
Yep.
How would you bill the irrigation?
Yeah, the house meter.
Is there gonna be an HOA?
I'm assuming there is. I don't know that answer. I was hoping an architect was going to jump on to answer any of these questions.
Because normally what happens in cases like this, even the, 150 North Main Street, one person from the 3 condos, they handle the outside irrigation water and pay it out of the HOA fees.
Okay, so back to the question I had earlier. Does Cohasset prefer that meter for irrigation to be taken off prior to the master or as shown here?
Prior to the master, so it's strictly an irrigation meter?
Correct. Versus a deduct meter for the,
Correct, because
The sewer
where are we
check.
deducting it from, kind of thing, it should be strictly on its own. I'll bill it separately, it'll be a water account only, whereas all these other accounts are gonna be water and sewer accounts.
so you'd like to take that off prior to the master?
Yeah,
Yes.
if there's an issue, we
Okay.
know strictly the irrigation.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
not, Now we're inside.
Yeah, if
Gotta
there is
figure
an
it out.
issue with usage or something like that, we can actually tell this is where it's coming from, strictly the irrigation system.
Okay, and that changes municipality to municipality.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
Okay, one question I do have that I've thrown around to the town engineer a few times. On the lower left-hand side of the screen, what I'm calling for is a master backflow preventer to contain the entire building. And again, this is a town-by-town scenario. I don't have any previous experience in Cohasset. I've got a running chart of every town that I've worked in. Some towns want you to contain the building. You know, for residential, it's probably a 70-30 that don't want it. But I'm showing you now as a worst case scenario for space. And what it does to the users, it probably knocks off 8 to 10 pounds of pressure. So if it's not needed, I'd like to remove it. But if it's something that you want, I'm allocating the space now.
So here's another thing. They haven't done a flow test yet in the neighborhood.
I think I have old information, which I based everything on.
It's Main.
It's got a brand new water main there.
Water main.
Okay. So do you know when that's available to have taken place?
You just schedule it through me. My guys would oversee it. You'd have to hire somebody to do the actual flow test, and there's a
Okay.
$550 fee for us to oversee it. We prefer to do it at night, just because it's a busy road.
And the results of that obviously will require a PRV if it's over the 80 pounds. But do you have any comment on the need for the backflow preventer on the service?
We have a private person who does all of our backflow stuff. I personally, and neither does Brendan, have the know-how to say yay or nay. I think it would have to come through the plumbing inspector. I mean,
Todd Emmerich.
who's Todd Amalang. And
You probably need those numbers.
he would definitely need those numbers, but I'm thinking if there's gonna be just one master backflow, I don't know if it's gonna fly, if there's gonna be commercial in there too.
Do they have individual after the master? So,
Yeah, will there be individual ones after the master?
Presently, we have one for the irrigation and the future pool equipment.
Right, that would be necessary, yeah. So I don't know if this master one would be necessary or not, that wouldn't be our call.
Okay. Yeah, I've asked the town engineer on a couple of occasions and I can't get an answer.
I would ask Todd Amalang, I can get his information to you if you'd like,
Can I find him on the town site?
maybe, I don't know, but we just have them in our cell phones.
Okay. And he's the plumbing inspector?
Yes,
Yeah, normally it's a water department call. Inspectors really rarely have a say in it.
well, I can also
Code
forward
related.
this, I can also forward this to my backflow guy, to see what his thoughts are on it.
Okay. I mean, if it's something that you don't want to contain the entire building, and if you did want to add one to the retail, again, that's your call.
Yeah, depending on what kind of retail we're talking.
That's still an unknown.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
I mean,
individual ones can always be added after the fact anyways.
Yeah, I placed a call or an email to the architects to see if they had any insight on the ultimate tenant, because we wanted to know if we needed to add a grease trap or anything like that, if it happened to be a small cafe.
Right,
But again, it's still an empty box with water, gas, sewer going to it now.
yeah. Okay. You got anything?
No, so you're saying that'll drop 10 pounds with the backflow?
Yeah, 8 to 10 pounds.
Okay, it's like 90 there.
But if it's 90, we'd have to put
Okay,
it.
that's why it would be nice to do a flow test.
Okay. If 90, we'd add the PRV anyways to knock it down. And especially if we're taking off prior to the master meter, we probably have to have a backflow, a RV valve for the irrigation as well. So there'd probably be a master for the building and then a separate one for irrigation if it is 90.
That sounds about right. Anybody got anything else?
At some point, they had to discuss hookup fees, right?
They
Okay,
already
we
have-
also have to discuss the other building too, don't we? On that site?
This one that is on the screen is the worst case scenario, meaning it's got retail and it's got the pool equipment. The other two buildings would have the master meter, the condo owner meters, and a house meter for amenities and any type of exterior wall hydrants. I just wanted to run this scheme by you. And again, I'll make the changes to all three buildings with the irrigation coming off prior to the master.
Well, currently there's a 2-inch meter, domestic meter, the 2-inch domestic line and a 6-inch irrigation line currently on that site.
Okay, the site engineers could speak to that. So we've given them the information that we need. So we'd have, I don't want to speak for protection, but it's probably 4 or 6-inch line. I could probably get away with a 2-inch line for this, but pushing it for domestic.
Right, well, that's what
Right.
Brendan and I were discussing earlier, without flow tests and whatnot. We have a good idea what's down there and it is good. But will a 2-inch line be sufficient enough to give everybody, especially on a multi-tier condo? It's 3 floors, correct?
2 floors of living space and then the garage level.
Garage is at the
And
bottom,
this building has retail.
right?
Excuse me, is the retail below the living space or is it a separate?
Correct. Correct. It's on the garage level.
All right, so it is 3 floors.
Right.
Yeah.
Was a living space and then garage level.
Okay.
Now, what about the water line for the other building?
Again, this is just a representation of the worst case scenario. So the other 2 buildings, I don't have them for a screen share, but it's similar to this on a smaller scale without the pool connection, without the retail. But it would have an irrigation, would have a master.
All right.
And
My question is, do we need another water line in here for fire suppression and water for the new building? Because we only have 1 line going into that property for fire suppression and 1 for the building.
that would be an answer for the civil engineer, but we presently have
Across the street.
new connections to each building.
Yeah, they're gonna have more.
Lee, Brendan thinks there's a 6 and a 2 over there as well,
Waiting for a hookup.
waiting for a hookup.
That was put in
Yes,
with,
when we
okay.
go down the street.
And how about the one on the other side of the street? Because they took down 2 buildings, so are the water lines
That's what
there?
I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, the one where they took
86.
down the 2 buildings?
Yes,
All right, what about the other building on this site?
the hotel,
Yeah, on the hotel side.
they have a 2-inch and a 6-inch fire line. They might have to upgrade the 2-inch.
And then subdivide the line so it goes into both buildings?
No, it'd be 1 line going into the building.
Okay, but there's a second building here on this property with at least 4 condos.
I'm not following.
Okay, we had this one building. We had the hotel.
We
This
talking the
big-
hotel, okay.
Yeah, the hotel. Where the hotel was, we have this one building that has 9 condos, which is possibly 18 bedrooms, plus kitchens, bathrooms, and whatever. In addition to this building, there is an additional building on this same lot where the hotel was that has at least 4 to 5 condos on it. Where is the water line coming for that building? Do you follow what I'm saying?
Tom, can you confirm that there's gonna be two different buildings on the same side of the street?
Correct. There's a 124 North and a 124 South Elm. And then on the opposite side of the street is the 87 Elm.
So for 124, let's just say 124 north. Let's just say main line comes into 124 north. Is that gonna feed both buildings?
I can go back and look at the civil engineer's work, but I know there are 2 separate taps to get into the building. I don't know if it's one line coming onto the site and splitting.
Okay,
I can try to get the most up-to-date civil plan and forward that to everyone here.
that would be
Yeah,
helpful.
Yeah, my question is, does this incur more hookup fees? Because it looks as though it is going to be more living space than what the hotel had.
Is that a question to me?
Whoever, I don't know, Brenda,
What?
Brendan,
sorry.
okay. How many units were in the hotel? Do we know?
Well, there was a hotel. No, I don't know how many rooms.
Okay,
Yeah, it had to be more than that. There's 2 floors.
Yeah, sure, they had a pool. It was a lot. They had a 6-inch line coming in.
but they only had one 6-inch line. They didn't have 2 lines coming in.
Yeah, they had it back in the day. They had a 6-inch line with the domestic tap outside, right where the anchor was, kind of, the parking
Yeah.
lot.
And they had a swimming pool in there, and they didn't have the fire suppression line.
Now you have to have a separate domestic, separate fire,
Yeah,
so.
so, and they have a 6-inch line going in there now, correct? For domestic.
My understanding is they have a 2 inch of 6 for fire and a 2. That's where the flow test is gonna
You're
come
gonna have to
in.
talk louder. I don't think they can hear.
All
you.
right, what was that you said again, Brendan?
Sorry, so I thought they had a 6 and a 2, and then the flow test will tell us if that 2 is sufficient or.
The 6-inch was for the
Fire.
fire. The 2-inch was the domestic. That's what's currently there.
Okay, but previously they were using a 6-inch for domestic for the hotel.
6
Eh.
left, but the domestic was tapped closer to the building, right outside the building, not across the street. So they had probably plenty of flow.
Was it a
It
6-inch?
was a 6-inch with a 2 off it. These 2 are gonna be separate. Well, they are separate.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, so they're only, before we had a 6-inch basically supplying the entire building with the swimming pool and all of the hotel rooms and the dining room and kitchen. Now, we're saying we have a 6-inch fire suppression and a 2-inch supplying this building, which is going to be 9 condos. We don't know what the condo situation is. Are they 1 or 2 bedroom condos? And don't forget, they'll also have their own kitchens. They might have 2 bathrooms, laundry facilities, and there's going to be a pool. So is a 2-inch line going in there sufficient to supply this? Plus, they're putting in another building with condos. And I don't know if the other building has a pool also.
Right, that's where the flow test would
That's
help.
where the flow test comes in and the engineers like,
Okay. But we don't know whether or not we should have an additional hookup charge for an additional building because it looks as though it is, the space is going to be utilized for more, I don't want to say living, than it was as a hotel. Chris, remember on James Lane, we had the house, so we gave them a credit for the house. And then each additional condo had a hookup fee.
Well, if there's a second tap, they pay for the second tap.
yeah, the second
That's-
tap, if they have to retap the main, to give another line in there. They would
Okay,
pay
they
another
would have
fee.
to do that. Okay, but we don't know whether or not they have to do that to see if this 2-inch line.
We do
may
not know
come-
that until it's been engineered.
Okay,
Yeah, the 2-inch line wouldn't be large enough. Looking at this, I've got a 2.5-inch backflow preventer, so 2.5 would be the feed for this entire domestic for 124 North alone. I just pulled up something that has the exact unit count. So 87 across the street has 10 units. And 124 North has 9. 124 South is 4. So 13 on the 124 site and
Hmm.
10 across the street.
Oh, because I thought you initially said there were 17 condos total.
No, I didn't know the exact number. That was,
Okay, so now we have 23.
so again, 10 at 87 across the street. A total of 13 between 124 and South.
So now with this information, we could find out whether or not we have sufficient water with the 2-inch line in both locations. Because we're replacing 2 buildings with 10 units across the street, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So Brenda, they have to submit a drawing to the water department for all the water connection fees, right?
Everything should be at the planning board because it will have to be signed up on.
Okay.
We can always get hard copies from them if necessary.
See, but I remember way back when we started to redo the whole planning permit process, that everything was supposed to be accessible online to all town departments that are involved in any of the developments.
It is, it's in permitize.
Okay. So we have it, and we should be in the loop with planning whatever they're doing so that we know when they're meeting and if they have any questions for us, and give them what our requirements are.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a little bit easier to go see the paper copy than try to read it off a screen.
Yep.
I know it is for me.
All right. So anything else for Tom while we're here, while he's here?
Tom, I'll send you Todd Amelang's information so you can get in contact with him directly.
Thank you.
All right. Everybody all set?
I think so. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming today, Tom.
Thank you.
Tom, I know Fidei over there. Tom, I said hi.
Will do.
All right. I'll see you later. Thank you for
Bye.
coming.
Yeah, because you don't have.
Hey, Brenda, can you, Mike is in the audience.
I see it now. I couldn't see anything when I was sharing my screen, unfortunately.
Oh, there he is.
Sorry, Mike.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, sorry, I was sharing my screen, so I couldn't see that you were out there waiting.
Right, and just for the record, I'm the liaison from Capital Budget Committee. So
Yep.
I've started to attend these meetings back March. So just trying to stay current with your plans and your financial needs, capital needs.
Well, it's good that you're here because we have a few stuff going on right now.
Yeah.
Hey, Jonathan, do you want to jump in first quickly about the sailing club?
Sure, I was gonna wait till the drought update, but
Oh, no, it's up to you. Want to wait? It's
yeah,
wanna
yeah,
get-
let's lump it in.
let's-
with the
yeah,
drought.
let's, all right, we'll jump next to the GAC update. I know Jonathan's been very involved with that process. Hey, what do you got for an update for us? Anything exciting?
Well, we had a workshop yesterday. The main crux of it was the location of the GAC backwash line and whether to tie in on the rear of the property by the sludge lagoons or on the front of the property. So for our existing filters in the treatment plant, the backwash line extends out the front of the building. And there's like a stub where we would have been able to, we had the option to expand if you ever wanted to expand the treatment plant. So they're proposing to have the backwash line for the GAC filters come off the back of that building and then wrap around to the front and tie into this nub so that then the GAC backwash water would follow the same path as the main treatment plant backwash water. That was the main point, I believe. Lee was there as well, but unfortunately Brian Joyce was not in attendance. So there's a few questions that will be lingering for Brian. Ultimately, it's his approval, but I believe that was the main focus of their presentation, right, Lee?
Yeah, well, there are also a couple other things about the building and the vessels that I want to discuss.
So real quickly, so Mike, God, was this like in June, July? When we went out to, so when we got the initial quotes for the GAC system, they came in at 3.2 million, and just recently they had an update on their budget for us, which was 5.8. Did I get that right, Lee or Chris? Well, John, it was 5.8 million.
Yeah, something around.
That's the number I saw in their presentation, that
Yep.
PowerPoint. Yep, 5895.
Right. So, yeah, just kind of keep you up to speed on that portion, because that's going to come up later in the meeting.
Yeah.
anyway.
If I can just give you guys a heads up, what I heard on, I think it was a call back in the end of May. Tetra Tech said the change was due to inflation, and Brian Host, the chair of capital budget, thought that was not a great answer, not that kind of an increase. And I think capital budget would want to really understand what's driving the price increase and have some detail there. So just if you guys can pull that together, that would be in your best interest.
Well, unfortunately, Mike, I don't think we know either, because when the presentations were given to us in January, Ty and Bond basically had that number of 5.8, and Tetra Tech came in with 3.6 after Tetra Tech was the one who did the initial pilot study.
Wait a minute, is that Ty and Bond were the first ones, right? And then Tetra Tech took over?
No, Tetra Tech, we've given Tetra Tech over $500,000 of work already between the two pilot studies and the plant study. Tetra Tech is the one who's been doing all the work in town. They were the one who were the first bidders, and Ty and Bond were the second bidder. Ty and Bond came in a week later with their bid, but when it was opened, we opened them both at the same time. Ty and Bond was the first one to present to us with 5.8 million. Then Tetra Tech came in and said, "No, here's us at 3.6." So 2 out of 3 of the commissioners voted for Tetra Tech and 1 voted for Ty and Bond. Then Tetra Tech came back in May and said, "Oops, between supply chain and inflation, it's now 5.8." So I don't know.
So I would want to get Tetra Tech to give a detailed justification and rationale for the increase.
I can provide some of that. So at the time when this first got underway, the cost of the GAC vessels were about, I think, like $250,000 each. And then over the course of whatever it was, the 6 or 12 months or so, it went up to almost $1 million each. So about $1 million right there increase is
Was
just
driven by the vessels.
the vessels.
Okay, so that's good.
I
No, or
think
not, but
another
yeah.
big chunk of it was about the ledge and the bore. They had this large chunk of it that was pending the borings to determine how close to the surface the bedrock and ledge are and how expensive it would be to excavate the foundation of the building, which they've since done the borings. I don't know that any final report or, determination has been made on what that money difference will be, but I believe that was another big driver in the possible jump from like 3 to 6 million.
Okay, it would be great to really see those numbers as part of your presentation.
So
Okay.
Mike,
It's
so Mike,
just to
we-
head off questions that people, it just would head off those questions. It's explained up front.
right, so
Okay, one other thing, Mike.
Yeah.
When we picked Tetra Tech, they were initially telling us it would be like a 40-week time frame in order to get the vessels. Personally, my husband and I called Calgon. Calgon said that we could order the vessels and they would hold them for us. We told Tetra Tech at a subsequent meeting, yeah, pre-purchase the vessels, Calgon would hold them for us. Right now, at their last meeting, they said, well, you guys have decisions to make. Do you want to do a pre-purchase option, which will reduce our owner's financial obligations to the equipment vendor up front? Or do you want the general contractor to purchase them? And it will be a pause in the installation until the PO is given by the general contractor. So I'm saying every delay in these vessels, the price is going up. Then the other option is with the building. We are going to be getting a metal building. It would be nice if someone out here can give us some direction on quality of the metal building, instead of just leaving it up to Tetra Tech to say to the general contractor, we want a metal building. Because I know we need specifications. They asked us yesterday whether or not we would like any light panels in them, either windows or translucent panels. And between Jonathan and myself, we decided that it would be nice to have some type of natural illumination in the building, instead of just all power in the event of any catastrophe and something happens, just to have a little bit of power in case something, whatever. But we're still back to, well, we know we want an insulated building. And if anybody has any knowledge of anybody, like any supplier like General Steel, who makes steel buildings, if we could look at that and see what we would think is an appropriate building, rather than, there's General Steel and there may be ABC, whatever, which one is a better quality that can give us what we're looking for, and we could put that in the RFP. Do you understand what I just said?
I
If Chris
do.
has information,
Yeah.
if Chris has any dealings with buildings that are metal buildings and you can see how they're constructed, I have absolutely no background in that. And if there is a better supplier,
Yeah, I would first think of Brian Joyce, who has set up a number of buildings for us, including the salt shed, which is not what you're talking about, but I think he's skilled in that. That's just my suggestion. I don't mean to intrude on the commissioner, so let me just shut up now.
well, no, I'm just saying
Yeah.
anybody, even if you have any experience, do you know
Yeah.
anybody who has had experience out in the private sector? I'm not just asking Brian, because Brian's basically been in public sector, but anybody, even Steve, if you know any contractors or whatever, any buildings that so that we won't be presented with, oh, well, here is this building that we're going to put up and we have no knowledge of the quality.
right, and we had a resident that emailed us about, aesthetics and stuff, and I'm happy to bring them in because they have some background in buildings and whatnot. So, I'm going to reach out to him at some point. He can kind of work with us. That's going to be important.
Yeah, because I think we have to have this knowledge of, where we're looking to purchase, either the
Right.
general contractor or us directly to purchase this metal building, to
Right.
make sure we get what we want and the quality and sustainability.
Right. So Mike, when we sit in front of capital budget, you know, whatever commission is gonna be there, we'll make sure we get Tetra Tech to come with us and kind of provide the explanation, you know, and we'll make it, when we reach out to them, we'll make sure. If you could send us an email, what you're looking for, like kind of the breakdown, and we can forward it to them so they can have it prepared and broke it down so they can go over it. Because to me, that's a big number jump in less than 6 months.
Yeah, I'm gonna, here's what I'm noting, Steve. I'm gonna send an email with a request for a capital budget coming from capital budget to Tetra Tech, asking Tetra Tech to explain the price increase. What are the cost drivers? And what are some of the considerations behind them? And if there are any other options that we should consider.
Yep.
That's what I'll put into my email. And shall I send that to you, Steve, or to you and Chris and Leonora?
Yeah, you can send to everybody. Yeah,
Okay.
us three.
Yeah,
I'll-
I would suggest that we get that to Tetra Tech, in the next week or so.
Right.
They, Mike, just so you know, we're not thrilled with their performance and deliverables at this point. So we will need to press them hard to get a response on this request we're discussing now. But they are set to deliver us a 75% design in September, which will accompany an updated estimated cost of construction. So they say, Tetra Tech says that as design advances, generally the costs come down from their previous estimate. Probably under normal circumstances. I personally am not expecting the cost that they've previously given us to go down. But we should, I think, tell Tetra Tech that with their 75% design and estimated cost of construction, it should be with a narrative explaining the cost drivers and the variances from their initial estimate.
Exactly.
Yep. Well put, Chris. Hey, Jonathan, do you think they're gonna be at the 75 percentile in September? I mean, you spend day and night with them, so what's your thoughts?
Well, I would say there's a good chance, although, I mean, September is only a few days away, but they do
Right.
seem to be moving quickly. Each workshop that we have, they have more and more drawings. So I would err on the side of a yes. I would imagine they will hit that mark.
Is there any buyer's remorse on going with Tetra Tech at this point? And are we married since they're moving towards a 75% design and that they've already conducted workshops,
Yeah.
versus tie and bond?
We've already crossed that bridge, and I, I'll speak for myself, but we crossed that bridge. We had many conversations about it. And we made the determination that we have to move forward with Tetra Tech. It's in the best interest of the schedule and for the town. And changing course at this point would be not as advantageous as sticking with Tetra Tech. So we've set up bi-weekly meetings with them to hold them accountable and make sure we're sticking to schedule. And when we did get that secondary estimate, which was almost double what they first said, we brought them into the plant and, we made them sweat and asked them questions, and they answered to the best of their ability, but it wasn't a satisfactory response. There was some things that could have been done differently, but we made the decision to give them the notice to proceed on the remaining 75% design. And that's where we're at currently.
Correct. And Mike, and
mhm.
I was, to be honest, I mean, you go back and look at my vote, it was myself and another commission that I voted yes for them. And it was mainly because of the financials. I mean, right? 3.2 versus 5.8. And it was clear, but again, if you had to turn back time, I would have thought otherwise, especially seeing their performance and kind of echo what Chris says. So, kind of live and learn and hold them accountable.
Yeah, well, the fact that both, both vendors came in ultimately with the same number suggests that that is the correct number. And as long as the three of you and Jonathan are comfortable, I'll use that word, you know, if you're comfortable with that number, that you really feel that there are no surprises beyond this, that everything that needs to go into a GAC facility is in there. And that, you know, hey, what, you know, the reality is 5.8, 5.9 million, that's it. And somebody from one of those vendors didn't give a correct initial estimate. Okay, then that's something we can at least go back to the town and say, in the early stages of planning, we had a number that turned out to be way too low, but we are confident in this number and that the number shouldn't change. I think that's what we want to deliver to town meeting. This is my
Great.
view.
Well, I know it will be very difficult because Tetra Tech did a $300,000 pilot study of the plant to come up with that $3.6 million number.
Jeez,
Yeah, so that's very difficult, but you know,
I'd be looking for a discount of $300,000.
well,
But I'm not going to, that's
yeah, no, that's neither here nor
stirring
there.
up our hornet's nest.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We
I'll,
already stirred that up twice already.
yeah,
Yeah, and we did look out to possibly go in another route, but unfortunately, in today's world, you know how difficult it is with staffing. And since the initial bid opening back at the beginning of the year, Ty and Bond has taken on quite a bit of work and they just couldn't fit it in their schedule.
yeah, no, I hear you. You know, moving on. Let Tetra Tech continue with their 75% design and make sure that you commissioners are happy with what they're providing in that 75%. And of course, you too, Jonathan and Brenda, that you're happy with what they're putting out there.
The budget meetings in November
What budget meeting?
or where we present this?
We'll be going, we'll probably be going sooner than later.
Okay, no, September 16th, we have to have our warrant article in.
Okay,
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think we should move the warrant article discussion up to right now as we're
Yep.
discussing this.
I agree.
I understand that Brian Joyce may be working with them for an addendum or an amendment to the SRF funding. I have no information on it. Does anybody?
I have nothing. I think he is on vacation this week. So we can follow up with him.
But I thought he
Last-
was on vacation last week.
I thought he was on vacation this week.
I think it's this week.
The last I heard
Because I
about
called
that,
him last week and I was told he was on vacation and I've been gone Monday and Tuesday. So,
so he likely hasn't done anything because last I knew is there's nothing to do at this moment until we have an actual number that we can apply for. So when Brian and I spoke about it last, which was about a month ago, he said he would keep me in the loop on any work and effort he's making with the state. And I haven't seen or heard anything. The last we got was an email from the woman at the state saying what the requirements were for us to submit a amended application. So it does kind of go back to Tetra Tech. And if we have that early September deadline, that pushes up when Tetra Tech needs to get us their estimated cost of construction. So I would say we need that probably next week from Tetra Tech so we can talk more specifically about the warrant article and what we need for funding. And then that dovetails into what we request from the state.
see, because I thought there was an October 14th deadline for the state.
Correct.
All right. And we have the September 16th deadline for the warrant article. And what I would suggest for the warrant article is just put in something like granular activated carbon treatment system, increased costs. And just put it in as a placeholder. And then we'll put the cost in when we get it.
Okay.
Because this This is what Jason was always saying to do, just put it in things as a placeholder. What do you think, Mike?
I think that's right.
Yeah. You know what, just
Yep.
put it in as the water department. I don't know who's gonna be the contact person. We'll just fill out the form, you. Okay.
Pulls a short straw.
And here it is, due to supply chain issues and increased project costs.
Yeah, they need to be itemized. We just can't put a generic,
Well, I mean, we have to put a
Yeah.
generic in right now as the
oh,
placeholder.
agreed, agreed.
You know,
But
just
when
to
you
get-
get to the warrant article, it really should have that detail.
Oh, yeah, no, but I'm saying there is this form that
Mhm.
it was sent via Chris through, you know.
And
that's the
just
first
to
thing,
get
the
it,
form
get the
not-
warrant article in
Right.
motion, I understand.
Brenda,
That's
did
fine.
you get any information about the warrant article?
No,
Steve, did you get any information about it directly?
No,
Okay, something is wrong with communication in town hall because this should have been sent to the water department and probably should have been sent to sewer too. Because how it was sent out, it was sent out to the management division or something.
I think it was sent out to all the department heads in town.
Yeah, department heads in town hall, but not to water and sewer.
Correct,
are you talking about the town meeting email?
correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we got, yeah, I got that.
oh, you did get that.
Yeah, yeah, Chris forwarded to us.
Oh, not, I'm saying Chris forwarded to us. We didn't get it from Tracy.
Yeah, I
Tracy
did.
didn't send it. You did?
Yeah. Sorry, I was
Oh,
thinking. of
okay.
something else. Sorry about that.
Okay, so never
So
mind.
if I could just ask Mike a question about itemizing the costs on that warrant. I don't know what the original warrant itemized out, but what are we looking at there for specifics?
Okay, unfortunately, the original warrant just said $3.6 million GAC system treatment.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lump sum job and I mean,
Yeah.
there really isn't any itemized cost. I don't know what Tetra Tech's gonna give us, but it's a lump sum job.
This is my own personal opinion, and more so as, you know, a taxpayer. And that is, the more you can get ahead of objections, the better. And so to put a rationale into the warrant article that these costs are due to, and then have, I'll use the term specific drivers, will help.
Okay.
That's
Okay,
just
but wait a second.
my feeling.
Yeah,
Yes,
So-
you can just put in something generic and then get up in front of town meeting and explain them, which you would want to do. But I think it's better to get it out early and often. And certainly have it in front of capital budget and advisory as we do our review on the warrant articles and vote to recommend or not.
okay, but Mike, don't forget, the warrant articles are totally different from what they were 5 years ago. Everything now is, okay, when we voted for that 3.6 million, it was in a chart. There were 3 things, I think, from water and 2 from sewer. And it was, here, you're voting for the 3.6 million for water, something else from water, something else from water, 2 things from sewer. How do you vote? There was no explanation. We do not put explanations in the town warrant anymore at all. Previously, if we would have done it, it would have been a detailed explanation at the beginning, the number, and then at the end, you would have an explanation, but that is totally taken out of the warrant now, so we can't do it. What you have.
Well, I
to
would
rely
try.
on Is,
I would certainly try, and certainly in the
well,
warrants.
this is Chris's format.
Okay, well,
Take a look at the warrants.
I would, again,
Yes.
this is just my opinion. This is my advice.
Yeah.
On trying to finesse this very large eye-opening increase would be to include your drivers. Now, many times in the warrant, there's a narrative which does provide that explanation. And perhaps that's the format to use. But I think you do need to have that rationale in the public document that is going to all the townspeople ahead of the town meeting.
Well, we
So-
totally agree with you on that, but right now.
So if,
all we have to
at
work
least
with- yeah.
prepare it and give it to Chris. And if Chris really wants to trim it down, then I would advise you to find a way to include it in whatever narrative goes with that warrant article.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But what we have now is we have this little form that we have to fill out that asks for the title, the proponent, the contact person, email, and description. We are very thin on what we can do now, but we want to put this placeholder in to make sure that we can
Oh,
get.
yeah.
it
No,
started.
I,
And then
I
after
understand
September
what you're saying
16th,
about the placeholder.
Yeah, and then we'll
Yeah.
flesh it out after we get
Right.
the information.
I don't
from
want, I
contact
don't want to
people.
make this too complicated, all of us, right up front.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make the point that any chance you have
Mhm.
to provide the rationale, you should,
Okay,
to get ahead of objections.
because we have, looks like between September 26th and October 26th, that's when your committee and selectmen and advisory will be reviewing.
Yes,
Have that window that we have to meet,
that's right.
and I'm hoping by October 1st that we could have the whole thing all fleshed in and have all of our ducks in a row.
Very good.
But we'll
Okay.
just, all right, do we want to vote on, or do you want to wait until our next meeting if we have a meeting before September 16th? On
We'll
what we're
plan to have
gonna
a
put in
meeting.
this article?
We'll do this. Let's have a meet. We'll have a meeting. Like to say the first or second week of September.
September, all right, then we can have this filled out.
How's this?
much
We'll
as
figure
we
out,
can.
we'll try to figure a meeting date just before we adjourn. How's that?
Good,
Okay. Let's just quickly jump on to just the rate study portion, because it's, with the with the increase of the GAC project, we based our rates off the 3.2 million. That's gonna probably be another warrant article, special warrant article for town meeting as well. We're gonna have to perform a rate study between now and, say, the spring town meeting, correct?
I don't really know, because Jonathan and I, when we were listening to when this is finally going to be finished, we're looking at Christmas a year away.
So we can do a following year then.
So we can put it off to see where we are, what the numbers really are going to be.
Right.
Because initially it was supposed to have been finished by June of 2023, and now they're talking December of 2023.
Right.
So it may not even be up and running until maybe March of 2024.
Correct.
So
Correct.
if we have more, instead of trying to figure out a rate study. But the only other thing I would say about the rate study is, since we did vote as a board twice unanimously to include the town and the school on rate 2, which would be a minor increase in our financials of only $30,000 a year, that we should go through with it. And unfortunately, both Don and Jason were totally against it both times, and we never got it into effect. So this might be something that we should be looking at to get finished.
Okay.
I don't know, do we have to go to town meeting for that?
I wouldn't think, I think we might have to, right?
I don't know. I don't know if we ever went to town meeting when we gave them decreases in rates. And this is just putting them back on where they had historically been at one point in time.
Right. We'll find that, we'll get that answer. How's that?
Yeah, but I think that's the only thing that we should do for the rate study for the future until next year, until we find out more exact numbers when we're closer to completion of the project, and we'll know what else has to be done.
Correct. Okay.
But the other thing too is, about the rates. Don't forget, we're going to be getting the 23 condominiums at some time, hopefully in the next year. And that was never put into the rate study. So don't forget, we're getting the monthly fee off of that and whatever water.
Right.
Because I don't think we were getting very much from the hotel.
It was always kind of empty.
Yeah, so I think we have all these things in motion that we should sort of let settle in the pot before we race into another rate study.
I would agree with that.
I agree. All right.
One other, Steve, if I could just interject one thing about development, because I haven't heard anything, but has there been any discussion or understanding of what's happening at One Pleasant Street? Because I know that there's apartments or condos going on the top floor of that, top 2 floors, I believe.
I haven't heard anything.
Okay, not to sidetrack conversation, but
Is it the building that they just knocked down recently?
correct.
Oh, yeah, on the tracks.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about that. Obviously, we'll keep an eye on the planning board too,
I think the water service is just sticking up there. Like with a cone on it or something. So Brendan's probably aware of that, but there's obviously a big development going there. So it's just something to potentially put on our radar.
Excellent.
Yeah, but that's something else that we have in the pot here, because we'll have the extra monthly fee from those condos. And then don't forget down on Main Street, where the fire was across the street from the church parking lot. They're putting in retail and condos there. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yep.
But they have the address there, Brenda?
Chavio's Garage, across from the church. St. Anthony, Chavio's Garage, the one that burnt down. So
Yeah.
Oh, where we
That-
are, yeah,
Yeah.
where we are, Chris, right?
Yeah.
On Main Street, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm saying this is more income that was never included in the rate study,
That's a
even
good
though it
thing.
might be minor, but it's still something.
We just need to get Jonathan to lift that water ban so people can start using the water.
Jen, when that water ban came out, it was pouring that day. Good timing.
Thanks.
Uh, s- Hey, just real quickly, just let you know, like when you do the voice calls, there's like a 20 to 30-second delay.
I know.
I kind of wonder how many people hang up after like 5 seconds.
Well, see, the problem is if this is why we're looking at a different system now, Glenn, and some other people we've been looking at are talking about getting a different system. If I start talking immediately, like when it connects me, it cuts off the beginning of what I'm saying. So Code Red said to me, take a deep breath and then start talking. So that's what I do.
Long, deep breath.
Long, deep breath. I don't want to have to record it twice or 3 times or 4 times like I've had to do in the past.
So we're almost done, guys. So the financials, I know, Brenda, you put them together.
I did the
Appreciate
best
it.
I could. There really isn't much. I think there's just such a delay up at Town Hall right now with no finance director or one that's only there, 1 day a week. So as things are getting put into like customized data, the billing system, that has to be transferred into SoftWrite. So I don't know how that actually works. So I ran just the revenue and the expenditure report as of yesterday or the day before, whatever day it was. And then, so that's all and then I gave you guys my updated expenditure report, which is
Okay.
actual real time as of that day, what we've spent.
Gotcha. And I know I saw the indirect costs. That was probably just an oops, right?
No, that's just my own accounting in my head. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
When it comes to the end of the year or whatever, I don't even like look at that. I'm more concerned about, let's keep within our budget right now of
Yep.
the items. And again, we're only into month 2. So, I mean, it's a cut, copy and paste kind of thing. So that obviously that dollar amount's gonna be lower.
Right.
Be lower. So, I don't know if that extra money would just automatically go into retained earnings.
Or it could be applied to a various account like maintenance or whatever.
I don't know if they can do that because it was already voted at town meeting. This is your budget, boom.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Now, you know about that, Mike, do you have a copy of the budget? Possibly not.
I have the town report, which I believe has it from
Yeah.
2021.
Okay, because Brenda could probably send you what she has, but there are some updates that we have to unfortunately make in our numbers because we have that $50,000 in there for GAC filter maintenance, which is not going to be happening because it's not going to be done for 6 to 7 months after the end of the fiscal year. The indirect cost amount is off by $70,000.
Right.
And then we did, because with Woodard and Curran, with the last two extensions to the contract, they kept the amount the same for each 3-year extension. And they requested an increase of, was it $45,000, I think, for this last year that the board granted them. So that number is going to look different unless we can somehow increase it. So we have to figure out when the new person comes in that we're talking to, if we can change some of these numbers around. And
Like, I'm sorry. Sorry, Lee, go ahead.
no.
Like, I just
and
sent
we're
you a
hoping-
copy. I just sent you a copy, Mike.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Lee, sorry.
Okay, yeah. And then, we still have to see what we're doing from last year, how much we have left over. Because there was probably $30,000 in indirect costs that we didn't use because Jason left early and there were changes in, unfortunately, someone who was on healthcare passed away early in the year, and we had the other employee who retired and the replacement was less. So we're hoping that we have some good numbers to report for retained earnings from last year. But until now, have you heard anything about what's happening in town hall with the people hiring? Have they found an accountant or a treasurer yet? Mike?
I have not heard.
What I have heard in speaking with Michelle Leary is that they have 2 candidates and they have not landed on one, but one I think is much more desirable than the other, but I don't know where they are in terms of making offers.
And how about the treasurer? Did they get a new treasurer?
I believe Chris has a line on someone that's very good. So this, call it a rumor because you're hearing it, second, third hand, but I believe they're getting,
This is what we get.
getting that job done.
Good.
Steve, I have a question.
can I-
Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
I just want to circle back with Brenda. I turn up everywhere since I'm now retired, but I've been working with Glenn Pratt on the Cohasset Emergency Management. And I've been asked to help find whatever's going to replace Code Red or figure out what Code Red can do better. So I know that you've expressed a couple of points, but I think I ought to just circle back and meet with you.
That's
And
fine.
really just have like a half an hour just for you to just vent about everything you hate about it and what you would change if you could. And then
Okay.
I think I'd like to bring that back to the Code Red people and say, hey, don't really want to make a change if we don't have to. Can you make these things happen? If not, then we should be looking elsewhere.
Yes, yeah, okay.
All
Yeah,
right, so just
it
watch
happened.
for me to ping you.
Brenda will tell you all about it.
Yeah.
I'm sure, counting on that.
You had to bring pastries in for all the folks that work there, so.
Trees.
Hey, well,
Okay.
the other thing we have to remember is when we have emergency calls going out, we should get somebody else other than Brenda doing non-water calls.
Well,
Because
you,
every time people hear Brenda, they think it's the water.
yeah, when I called about the Sawyer Street shutdown, I had people calling me, even though I said I was the DPW, but no, Michelle's usually my backup. But I think Michelle, when I had to do those calls, was on vacation.
right.
So I've been her backup and she's been my
Yep.
backup.
Right.
Um,
I think I stepped on Chris. Were you going to
Oh,
say
yeah.
something at
Yeah,
the same
thanks, Mike.
time? Yeah,
Just the point about this water ban, it's going on for an extended period of time and it's likely to continue. What, have we done any analysis on the lack of sales? I mean, this is our revenue, so what is this gonna do to our sales and our budget? And, have we been able to gather enough information or analysis to look at that? I mean, sales must be way down from last year, right?
We were, for the first quarterly billing, we were about the same. I won't know until we bill again, which is November 1st.
Okay, is anyone watching? I mean, Jonathan, can you give us any indication of how off we are from normal? How bad is this gonna be when we get our next quarterly billing?
No, my understanding is that we've been pretty on par with last year, maybe a little under. Yeah, that's the most I could add. I would say similar or under.
Well, we're definitely running less hours.
Yes, demand is down right now.
Is that because the Whitney Crossing is closed? Is that making a difference?
No, I
It-
think the drought.
Yeah, that's only a small part of it. Or maybe 50-50.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of the neighbors are calling on each other. Or people, using irrigation, and a lot of people are really concerned, so
that's a
most
good thing.
people, if you have a newer irrigation system, and I've been able to reach some of these customers, they can shut their irrigation systems off with their phones. So if they're out of state or out of town or whatever, and they got a call from me, and I got about a dozen of these, they're like, oh, I'll shut it off right now. And then we went back like the next day, and so I expect revenues to be down. But again, we had a rate increase, so maybe
Right.
it won't look as bad.
Okay.
We did have the
Right.
rate.
Yeah.
Well, the
just
other thing
something
is,
to think about.
how about the fines? Are we fining quite a few people?
Only been one person that really was belligerent, and I'm not gonna mention names because they did
Right.
get a certified letter. That absolutely refuses to shut it off. Even, her neighbors are trying to shun her, and shame her. But I had Connor go out the other day and data log her meter, and she's still got it running a couple of times. So I'm fining her. $50 was the first day and $100 every day thereafter. And I even sent her a copy when I sent the certified letter of the data log report showing her that we know when you're using water. We can track it. Please, shut her down, but nope.
Yeah, too bad we don't have the ability to, we ever could shut people off after third, but obviously we don't have that ability.
You
I've
could
heard the
actually-
same-
Most people
You're
have.
shutting people off from water?
You can, yeah. They have a policy after the third time, they have the right to shut off their service.
I'm in the commission meeting. I'll have to call you back.
But whatever, that's a different topic.
Yes.
I was in the meeting.
So
Okay, I'll tell them.
if that's all for financials, let's jump quickly into the Verizon lease. Anything,
Yes. Yes, sir. So the Verizon wireless lease, the initial 10-year term is not up until July 2024, but Verizon Wireless has presented to us the second amendment. The first amendment in 2017 was just for them to swap out and upgrade some equipment, didn't change the term. So Verizon would like to secure another 10-year term when this one expires. And they would like to get it done sooner rather than later because they have some desired equipment upgrades that they would like to get going. So likely from their standpoint, they want to secure the lease extension before they invest in these equipment upgrades. So I looked at all of the three leases we have, Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, and they're all different. They're all structured different. The terms are different. Renewals are different. So the Verizon original lease is, it's got a little peculiar piece to it here when it talks about extensions. It says the water commissioners shall seek Cohasset town meeting approval for one automatic 10-year extension at town meeting. Parentheses, the next town meeting being spring of 2014. And if approved, the parties will promptly enter this amendment, blah, blah, blah. So looking back at, you know, a 5-year period around 2014, I don't see anything in any town meeting about Verizon Wireless. If anyone thinks I missed it, let me know. But I don't see any town meeting vote on the Verizon Wireless lease. So given that this paragraph is in here, what I would say is that at this next town meeting, we should seek approval for this 10-year extension for Verizon Wireless. This did go to town council. They didn't have any feedback on the content of the lease amendment. It's very short and basic. But there was some question about town meeting approval for this extension. So after digging and determining and reading, what I just stated is where I believe this is. So the original lease was not ever approved from town meeting, from what I can see. I don't see any evidence or historical documents on an RFP for this. So there's no previous approved RFP that stipulates a 20-year term. So I believe, you know, it is up to the board to vote in favor or not of this extension, and then put a warrant article to town meeting to approve this 10-year extension for Verizon. Likely when we do that, we can execute the extension or the amendment, and Verizon Wireless would, you know, present to us their plans to upgrade their equipment.
Okay. So Chris, do you want to make a motion for the first go around?
Yeah, so let me just add a couple other things related to the other leases we have in place. T-Mobile, which is new, was signed, from what I can see, was executed in September 2021. That's a 5-year term. So somewhere around November 2026, the original term will come to an end. That lease has 3 5-year extensions that do not auto renew, and it does not require town meeting approval. Okay. So just to kind of get everyone on that level set, and on T-Mobile, we know that that was just installed. I don't have any operational details on that right now, but T-Mobile appears to not have any town meeting approval requirement, and it does not auto renew. So sometime around, I would say, you know, the middle of 2026, we'll need to have discussion about approving another 5-year extension for T-Mobile. AT&T was executed in November 2012 for a 10-year initial term. That has a 10-year extension, which does auto renew, but it requires town meeting approval. So that would put us right about at the 10-year mark in November, from the original date of November 2012. I haven't heard or seen anything about a request for an extension or anything from AT&T. So again, maybe I'm not in that loop, but I wanted to bring that up to the board to let you all know that we do have a current lease in place that will auto renew, and as it states in the lease, requires town meeting approval. Therefore, I would say we lump the AT&T and the Verizon town meeting approval warrant articles for approval into one, if that's possible, and get those two out of the way, work with AT&T and Verizon simultaneously to get these extended.
Was that a motion?
No, that was just a point of discussion. So are there any questions?
No, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, Chris, I would just say, I think we should do 2 separate warrant articles. One
Okay.
for AT&T and one for Verizon, just in case. and not commingle them, because it wouldn't be, any big deal to do two separate ones.
Okay. Brenda, has there been any communication on your end with AT&T, or do we even have a contact person?
Let's see. I would say no. Let me just pull my file right here. No, the only contact I have is like an accounts payable email address. And nobody has reached. Let's see. We did, when AT&T did some modifications, June of 2019. I do have a letter with a contact name, which I can get out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about all I have.
All right. And just another point of clarification, who does the billing to these entities for our rent?
They send it to me directly.
Okay, so we do not send them any invoice?
No, they like clockwork every month, AT&T and Verizon, a check shows up. AT&T increases in November and Verizon in a different month, but,
Okay, so you're tracking the escalations,
oh yeah, it's
the
spot
annual
on.
escalation. And,
Yep.
and T-Mobile was supposed to give us a $5,000 lump sum
They
shortly
did,
after, so they did.
they did, and then they paid their full annual fee all at once, which was nice.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, and that goes up after the first 5-year term, that goes up by 5%, not 3%, so that's good. Okay, so Steve, I'd like to make a motion to prepare a warrant article, 2 warrant articles for the special town meeting. One to extend the AT&T lease agreement for a 10-year period. And secondly, the Verizon Wireless lease to extend for an additional 10-year term.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I just have one little correction. I would say on the AT&T warrant article to put in to extend their automatic renewal for a 10-year term.
Okay,
So that people, just to get that in writing, so when someone's looking back on it, they know that's what it was, and maybe that's why they haven't contacted us.
could be. Okay, so the motion would be to prepare warrant articles to renew or to seek approval for the auto renewing 10-year extension for AT&T and the renewal for Verizon Wireless for an additional 10-year term.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Chris, are you going to do that and put it in?
Yes, I'll spearhead that with, your assistance, Lee, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, I mean, it just has that little piece of paper to do, so
Yep.
it's easy. Or else
Okay.
I could do it and send it out to you.
All right, let's say, really nothing on Elms Meadows well field so far. We still got to have a separate discussion on how we can get that up and going at some point.
I
Well,
have
we
a
are still
question on
trying
that.
to work with, whoops, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Lee, I'm sorry.
No, we're still trying to work with Justin, our communications director. I've started a couple months ago with him to see whether or not we can eliminate the people from dumping on the well site. Because I have had feedback from a number of people in town that they would like to have that area go back to what it was originally when they were growing up, a field. I know there was one person who would like to have it as a lacrosse field, but I don't think that is in our purview at all because of what is needed for a field. And another person is looking to maybe do a little passive recreation area there with a small playground for young elementary children. Maybe we could put some benches in and just have it so it's an enhancement to the neighborhood. The other side of the coin is just put up an 8-foot cyclone or chain link fence. And I think, I thought maybe we could have Justin prepare something for the town to say, we could do A or B. What would you prefer? And maybe that will stimulate something going on in the area and cleaning it up and then rejuvenating it and getting back online. But that's my idea. If anybody has any discussion to add to it, to maybe do something to get back our water supply.
So I kind of responded to his email today to say that, you know, as long as he meets with one commissioner, or he can meet with you and Jonathan, whatever, he's on violation of open meeting laws. You know, it's good to have a face-to-face conversation with him to kind of express your concerns when your schedules permit, right?
Yeah, so
Well, yes, we've had that conversation with him and we've given the information. Mike, I don't know if you know it, but on the town's website under Water Department, we do have an article that was done in the Mariner 10 years ago, because there were 2 articles in 2 consecutive years about the whole thing, 9 and 10 years ago. And we also have one of our bill inserts where we discussed about not dumping and being careful what you put on your lawns. So we're hoping that maybe, since people have been ignoring us for the last 10 years with this new communications person, we can light up some fuses here and get going. Go ahead, Jonathan. I'm sorry to interrupt.
yeah, I was just gonna say that I've started to engage him, and we're gonna begin some type of PSA, public education program, but just wanted to remind you that that is separate from the conversation of the future of the well itself.
Oh, yeah. No, I think we have to look at cleaning it up. The other aspect we have here, we did purchase 2 cameras while Jason was here to catch people who were doing it. And Jason only managed to catch 2 Cohasset students dumping a wheelbarrow full of stuff right next to the sign that said no dumping. And the police currently have these cameras because Jason gave them to them. So the police are supposedly monitoring them every now and again. But it is Concom's purview to go after and fine these people who are doing it.
Yes, but again, just want to remind you that this is separate from. the
It's separate from that,
coordination
yes.
And the financing of getting the well back online. Those are different subjects.
Mhm. But we
Correct.
have to clean it up before we can get it back online
Right.
to make sure we're not getting pollution.
All right.
I have
Any
a
more
question or two.
Yes,
Go ahead.
The last thing I understood is that it was PFAS. I'll use the word contamination.
yes,
That was, is the problem there,
yes.
and that the suspicion is dumping is bringing in those PFAS contaminants? Or is that, it's just impossible to say?
It's hard to say.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, but we also had.
And
we
what
have
are
short
what are
range
the
out there.
levels of PFAS? Do we have any recent reporting on what those levels are that they test out to?
Yeah, so right now, the average is 18.4 and the critical number is 20.
Right. That's parts per trillion,
Yes.
and the threshold is 20. So is it possible to bring it back online because we are under the threshold, or do we need to go through a vetting process with state regulators or whomever?
No, the risk is that if we do hit that 20 while it's online, we need to send out public notices every month.
Right.
Until it falls. So like, because we are that close against it, we have opted to shut it off.
All right, so you've set yourself a parameter, a criterion to work off of.
Yeah, so we had one result that was north of 20 and a few that were, you know, in the 18, 19. So that's
Yeah,
what
two.
drove that decision.
I see, okay.
We have since changed labs that are doing the testing, and we do expect that number to trend down, but it's going to take a long time before it's, you know, comfortably closer to 10.
Right,
And,
what's a long time?
Could be.
Years?
Could be, yeah, it could be a solid year.
That's if there's no modifications to the treatment process.
Right.
Correct.
And what would it cost to put up that 8-foot fence?
We had a number, didn't we, like 2 years ago? And
I don't know, was it
Yeah, I
something like,
got a bunch of quotes last time. I want to say $40,000, $50,000. It was really high, and now it's going to be even higher.
Yeah. It
okay,
seems to me,
Michael, there's
that-
always, but there's one other aspect here. There is a storm drain that's on Cushing Road that we tested. That's like, I think it's at the end of Norfolk, that collects water coming down off of the lawns of people on the hillside. And that had a high PFAS number in it.
and that feeds
was like-
into the groundwater nearby?
Yes. Yes.
I see. Okay.
but I think
So
on
I'm
an
saying the
extreme,
feds wouldn't be the only thing that would block PFAS. We also
I
have to
see.
get the whole neighborhood.
Okay.
if we got into an extreme emergency, we could turn on the well field, right, Jonathan?
Yes.
If we got, I mean, if we got really into an emergency, we could run it, but we're choosing not to, so.
Right. Okay.
Anything
I
else on
know-
that?
No, I know we're at time and
We have two more items. Jonathan's gonna be up next. We're good, the drought update.
Yeah, so pretty quick on that. As everyone knows, beginning of the week, we upgraded the drought phase and level of restrictions. At the moment, the large reservoir is at 69% full, which means that it's only fallen 1% since the beginning of the month, which is a good thing. Lily Pond is at 57% full, which sounds low, except that is a 2-month supply at our current rate. Rainfall for the month is 2 3/4 inches, which is 65% of normal, which is sort of okay. But the real trigger for the drought condition we're in is that Bound Brook Stream has not flowed in almost a month. So that's what's driving that. Sort of separately, but not really. We all spoke before the meeting about something that came across my desk this week with the harbor. So we have the sailing club, which I believe are all high school students, maybe junior high students, who are getting ready to go back to school. And because of that, the club is shutting down for the season. They asked us for permission to power wash the boats as they come out of the water to winterize them. And I gathered that it's about 10 boats at about 10 minutes each, and they should be done by tomorrow. So we granted them that permission, but then we received word that the harbor master was sort of objecting to this, and I spoke to her, and she sort of insisted that we extend this permission to what seemed like everybody at the harbor. I was trying to get her back on the phone this morning to clarify that, but unable to do so. I wanted to present to you the situation and ask if there's any other uses in the harbor that you would think warrant special exceptions. Brenda, you agree with that recap?
What is the use that the harbor master is referring to? Is this for the lobster boats? Is it for the pleasure boats, or what exactly is she talking about?
Mentioned, well, I don't want to say, I don't talk anything bad, but she mentioned pretty much everything. Anybody that has a boat, the yacht club, what was some of the other organizations she brought up, Jonathan?
So I was trying to get confirmation on that this morning. I think it was Maritime something, Maritime.
That's Cohasset Maritime Institute.
uh,
That's another public rowing club. So yeah, there's the yacht club, there's the sailing club, there's CMI. Those are all public recreational, well, recreational programs. Then there's the commercial fishing fleet and their need for water. Not sure exactly, but certainly they're going to be washing down their boats when they're, after they've brought in their catch. I think that's part of their business operation. So I guess in my view, and I'm around the harbor a lot. I live right by it and see a lot of activity. I would think that if you've got a commercial or nonprofit organization that needs to use the water for your operation, I would think that that would make sense. And that, washing pleasure boats may not make sense. But I think I understand Lori Gibbons' objection is that, you've got to be fair to everybody. So if that helps, I hope, but
So the sailing club itself is a town. I don't know, honestly, I'm not a boater, so you can tell. The sailing club is that that's part of the town activities, town funded with the kids?
it is not town funded. It is a nonprofit that
Okay.
operates for the public benefit, as does
Okay.
CMI, there's another group called Cohasset Student Coastal Research. But all of these three all use minimal water. Jonathan just pointed out that, they might use, 10 boats, 10 minutes. I mean, I'm not sure what that flow is. At CMI, I'm very active there, and we actually reached out to Steve to get permission to wash our boats. We actually have not used the water yet. We've basically been wiping down our boats when they come in, and we're in a hiatus now for a few weeks. CSCR uses minimal water. Most of their water is inside for the research that they're doing. The yacht club, they have hoses, and people do wash down their boats when they come in. And there's water over at the marina. I'm not
Are
sure
those
what that
currently shut off?
is. It
Are those services currently shut off at the marina and the pier where the fishing boats come in and whatnot?
I can say that the marina water is still on. I don't know about Government Island, the Government Wharf. Don't know about the yacht club.
Everything's still on. We haven't shut off any services.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, can you comment on any water uses in this area that would be excessive or inappropriate?
Well, I would say that the yacht club and the marina as recreational boats, I think those boats can survive well without having salt water washed off them every time they come in. I think they could probably cut back a lot. People who fish, need to hose down fish guts and everything else that might be on their boat. And then there's a lobster fleet, and they do need to keep their boats washed and clean, just by the nature of their catch, and it's for consumption, food for consumption. So I would think that we want to have them as clean as possible. So that's generally the way I view it, and I'm just a lay person. I am a boater, I have a whaler, and I'm very active with both the rowing and the sailing club. Not so with the yacht club. And we keep our whaler at the marina, so I'm familiar with their operations.
Okay, Mike, from what I understand that Jonathan said, the sailing club specifically asked for use of the water because they're shutting down for the season, and these
Yeah.
are, yeah,
They need
I
to
mean,
put the
that's-
boats away clean.
yeah. Now, at the yacht club, do you know when they shut down?
Generally after Labor Day, their docks, I think, come out October 15th, around Columbus Day, but things go way down all around the harbor right after Labor Day. The marina pulls their docks around October 15th also.
All right, so they have sufficient time after possibly it can start raining in September to do whatever they have to do. But since the sailing club is shutting down now, I think
Yeah.
it is important to do this. With the rowing club, you don't shut down.
We're in a hiatus now for a couple of weeks, and then we're going to pick up with our fall rowing program. I can certainly influence the program director to wash the boats maybe once a week if we're still in this critical drought. I'm not sure what the designation is, Jonathan, but the phase we're in right now, I think we could wash those boats, once a week, and be good, good partners with the water department.
Okay. Well, that's very helpful, Mike, I'm glad
Yeah.
you're here. I think I have what I need.
Right. And then just as an owner of a whaler, and I go out maybe once or twice a week, I know I don't need to wash down the hull. It's better if you can, but it's not a game changer. And I would ask you to reach out to the Lobstermen's Association and ask their opinion on whether they could restrict their water use or not.
Okay, I can do that.
But did you say that Lori Gibbons took steps, or she just objected to the sailing club washing their boats?
She objected in the moment, and then she and I had a discussion about it.
Okay, all right.
That
So
led to this.
right now, the sailing club water is still available, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Okay. So I'm wearing many hats this morning, you guys.
Thank goodness you're here.
Yeah,
Yes.
right,
See, it's a win-win.
right.
All right, so let's get to the last item, which is not on the agenda, but it's an abatement. That came in, if everybody saw it, for 429 South Main Street. Everybody have a chance to look at that?
Yes.
Yes.
So kind of, I had asked Brenda what the backstory was, and I understand. So been kind of using their house for a 12-year period for sampling. And the abatement charge that, I think it was Brenda and Jonathan came up with. Did I say?
That's
Is
correct.
$53.70. I don't have an issue because it was after the meter for our use and data. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the abatement for 429 South Street for $53.70.
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 We only have one more thing though, Steve.
Oh, what I miss?
Meeting note approval, Chris,
Yes.
July 14th.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the July 14th meeting minutes of the Board of Water Commissioners.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, before we fly off into a day, if everybody can pull out their calendars quickly.
Mm,
So our goal is to try to meet before the 16th of September, right?
Yes.
All right.
Just to let you know, I'm on vacation Labor Day week. So if you guys are gonna have a meeting, I could set it up, have somebody be maybe a co-host.
Would Monday the 12th be too late?
Are you gonna be around on Monday, the 12th? Brenda?
Oh, yeah, I'll be back on the 12th with bells
that-
on.
Well, I mean, no, we don't have to have this in until the 16th, so.
And we'll be able to have an in-person meeting.
Yeah, we could do that. That'll
Mhm.
work.
Yeah, I could make any day work that week.
Yeah, let's give it like, because if we meet, yeah, let's do that. Let's enjoy next week. You probably want a little long vacation. So Monday the 12th would be okay?
Works for me.
All right, I'll block it off my calendar.
Okay, if you can just throw together a quick agenda, I'll make sure it gets posted.
Okay,
Okay.
anybody want, so that could you, for Lee and Chris, wouldn't just want to kind of keep that simple as warrant article, since we kind of already did a lot today.
What was that, Steve?
You want to just do for that meeting, would just kind of strictly be a warrant article meeting? What do you want? Feel like, I just, while I have you guys
Well,
here.
we could just see if we have anything on the, because we should be able to have another Tetra Tech meeting before then, right? Or will we?
Correct, the
Yeah.
7th.
Okay.
So we'll have another Tetra Tech meeting. So we could do the GAC, we could do the warrant article, and we might have some updates on financials. We don't know.
Okay. All right, I'll send some of them out, and if you folks want to add something else, please do so.
Hopefully, we won't need another drought update.
Yes.
So GAC warrant and financials. Okay. Anything else from the Water Commission?
Nothing for me.
No,
All right, before I close out, Michael, thanks for coming. Jonathan,
Mhm.
keep going at it with Tetra Tech. Brenda, thank you. And I'd like to make a motion to close the Board of Water Commissioners at 12:17 PM on August 25th. And a
Second. Second,
All in favor?
I,
We're officially closed, folks.
All right, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks, Brenda.